Good morning, guys. My name is Mark Cepeda. I'm the district manager for Legrand for California. All the EWS brands, and ConnectTrack falls under the EWS brands. Today we're going to talk about ConnectTrack. Legrand acquired ConnectTrack a couple of years ago. Great company. It's been a nice relationship. We've made some adjustments, and what we're going to primarily, you're going to see a couple of things today. You're going to see about express kits, and then you're going to see the Flex system. For you guys, the express kits, you're actually going to carry those in your DC. So when you see those on the orders, or when you just have a small job, and Brent's going to cover when these things are appropriate or when you need the Flex system as well. But just know that you have those express kits available and ready to go. So with that, I'm going to hand it off to Brent. Now, I want to introduce Brent because I saw his title and I had to write it down. He is the Senior Commercial Interiors Spec Consultant. He is the guru of everything that goes on with ConnectTrack, and I am very fortunate that he was available today to conduct this training. So with that, Brent, I hope I did you justice.
Wow, I don't even know if I can fill those shoes, but thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. I have been doing this ConnectTrack thing for a number of years, but I will be the first to raise my hand and say I don't know all the answers. But as we go through this, what I'd like to do is, folks are entering and exiting, no worries. But as we go through this, I would like for folks, if they could, to just jot down the question. And if we could defer those questions to the end so that we can get through the information in a timely manner and make sure everybody's keeping on track on time, because we appreciate your valuable time. And Mark, thanks for the very nice introduction. So with that said, we wanted to give you just an overview of the products that are available via ConnectTrack, which, as Mark mentioned, is a significant piece of the wealth of different solutions that Legrand offers through its electrical wiring and systems division. So what we're hoping to try to cover this morning, there we go, is a couple of different things. One is what is it about the current market conditions that will be at play for a product like this thing called ConnectTrack, then the actual overview of the ConnectTrack product, and then finally tips and resources that are available to you and to your teams as you move forward with that. So starting off with the marketing trends, I would say that I think most of us would agree that the workplace is significantly changing given the current geopolitical and also global health issues. A recent Forbes magazine article on trends that will shape the future of work said that interest in agile workspace strategies has increased more than 500% since the pandemic disrupted workplace operations. And I know that we have all experienced that in our own lives, in our own both professional and personal lives. So it's without saying that it will definitely impact the office moving forward. Some further statistical support for this is from a recent Gallup poll that shows that at least 5 out of 10 employees want some form of hybrid work arrangement. This is also an evident situation or phenomenon in the evolution of the physical workplace. If you look from left to right there, at the turn of the century, an average of 50% of the space was for individual heads down work, and just 25% was for collaboration. That evolved to an average of about a third for individual work, or 33%, and 33% for collaboration in the pre-pandemic times. And you fast forward to today, where most organizations offer a hybrid of remote work and plan for more collaborative teamwork when people come to the office. As the evolution of the workplace keeps morphing, it's clear that the agility in the workplace is critical, and products like ConnectTrack allow that flexibility. So let's get you a little bit of product knowledge and overview of these two systems that we call Express Kits and Flex Raceway. So ConnectTrack, for those of you who may not be familiar with it, is an above slab solution that creates a pathway from building power and data to wherever that furniture may reside in the space. These systems can be installed on any floor type, so either under the carpet, as shown here, or exposed on finished concrete or wood floors and various types of other hard surface floors. Connectrac is available in two options. First, the express kits are part of the stocking program that allows a contractor to grab a box and install a pre-wired single circuit system to provide a single quad receptacle and data device where that client may need it in that space. Flex is designed for projects where multiple circuits and multiple power data points are desired. So Flex projects are designed by the Connectrac design team, which resides in our corporate location in Dallas, Texas, and are quoted through our distributors. Connectrac can be used standalone, providing access to power and data outlets, or it can be used to feed furniture mounted devices. Best of all, it's completely reconfigurable to quickly meet the needs of that changing environment we just spoke about. And it will take a deeper dive in this in a few minutes. One of the key designations or key questions that most any client will ask you if you're bringing forth the option of Connectrac as a possible solution for their space is, what is that size or height of Connectrac, since it is an above floor solution, and is this UL approved and compliant with the ADA compliance? So the answer to both of those questions is it is fully UL approved, and all of our solutions that I'm showing you here today are also ADA compliant. What I like to do, especially for those who are not able to physically walk over the product, is to give you a sense of it. So if you were to take a dime and put it on end, as shown in the image there, the highest part of our wireway is no higher than that dime, or 0.66 inches. And then we offset that height of the dime 15 inches on either side, starting at the height of that wireway and then receding slowly down to the actual subfloor. So when there is a question about this, and especially given the recent considerations as it relates to not being able to be in front of folks physically as much these days, is you can actually use this as a reference point. But it becomes pretty critical because a lot of clients really welcome the opportunity to be able to experience this. If that's the case, we do have a number of opportunities and samples in terms of demonstration kits that, should your end user client have an interest, we can figure out how to get that to them so that they can we can put it on the floor and they can physically experience it. So to give you a little bit of an idea and a deeper dive into this thing we call express kits, what we're trying to do is to kind of seamlessly manage both the power and data cables, and it comes in the two installation options. One is, as you see on the image on the right side, it comes in an under carpet tile, and then the other on the left side is the on top of floor. Both options are ideal for the applications that need a simple grab and go power data solution. And these solutions do come in a single box with everything that you would need to install. So what I would like to do is start out with the under carpet or express under carpet video. And these are no longer than a half a minute, but they do a great job of explaining in a very visual form exactly what happens. The one thing that I would set up on the under carpet video is it shows that all of the carpet tile needs to come up, and that is not the case. If this is going into an existing space with existing carpet tile, you would likely only need to move approximately 2 to 3 rows out to wherever that would need to reside under the carpet or under the furniture, as opposed to the entire room. But this should give you a sense of what actually happens. So as you can see, there's the carpet, there's a small mouse hole that's in the base. The power went in the silver piece, and then the blue with the data cables. It goes in that mouse hole, up the wall, and then ties into the J box, typically above a ceiling grid. And then that is what it looks like once it's finished with the carpet back on top. The only thing that's needed in terms of alteration on the carpeting is where the actual devices fit into the actual wireway. To give you a sense of what it looks like on floor and a little bit of similar scenario in terms of how it works, you'll see the same thing. So there's the mouse hole, there's the actual wireway, there's the actual flex metal conduit that runs the power, and then the cable runs right next to it for the low voltage. And in this case, it's meant for on floor. The one thing that I would share with you is you'll notice that the devices are slightly different for the on floor versus that of the carpet, but both give you minimally a quad receptacle for electrical plug, and then also four keystone locations for data termination or pass through on the on floor or hard surface, and then eight openings and termination points for that of the under carpet. So there's just a slight distinction there that I always like to point out. And then the specifics of what comes in this box of Express Kit. So it is a single circuit solution for power and for data. It does come in a single box. Currently, it is available, and it's showing here on the slide, available in 6-foot, 9-foot, and 12-foot lengths. You can order an additional, which is one additional box, a 3-foot extension that you can go out as much as 15 feet, depending upon the situation and where you're going in the space to get to that workspace or conference table or work surface. Each of these kits will take approximately 2 hours to install. That first run, for those who are not as familiar with it, might take a bit longer. But once one run is installed, you will see it's very consistent and very replicable. So you can it's something that's easy to repeat. It is a 20 amp circuit. It's pre-wired with a 25-foot quad receptacle, or the power whip is 25 feet long, so that it goes that length of the floor, and then the height inside the wall. And then tying into the J-box very easily from the location where it needs to get the power to. And then, as we mentioned, it accepts up to 4 keystones on the hard floor, and then 8 on the undercarpet. Again, all UL approved, ADA compliant, and also meets the newer meeting NEC code that requires, for I believe it's every 125 square feet, there has to be specific power requirements, and that is slowly making its way across the United States to be able to accommodate the needs, so that there's not a use of a lot of extension cords and so forth that we all have seen as we move into those conference spaces. The Express kits are as easy as the 1, 2, 3 single box. So one box bringing everything to it, with the exception of that 3-foot extension if you want to move it to a 15-foot. There's 2 different alternatives for it. So you have the under carpet tiles as well as the on floor finish. And both solutions doing the exact same thing, with the exception of the small deviation in the data. So, and then the 3 sizes available, which is the same things that we have talked about and discussed previously, which is the 6, 9, and 12-foot section. So these are images that will give you a sense visually of what we're talking about. So the on floor, as you can see, and I don't know if you can see my cursor, but we have, in this case, the same exact wireway as what is shown for the under carpet or under tile. And then at the same time, you have the top cap. The only difference between the two, which is significant, is that I have aluminum metal rails on either side of the on floor, versus in this case, I have medium density fiberboard, 15 inches on either side of that same wireway. And that medium density fiberboard, for those who may be interested, is also treated moisture resistance, so that we can put it down, the carpet tile can go over it, and the actual client can then shampoo or clean their carpets without this soaking it up. You'll also note at the end there is a half round here that takes the same height of that dime down all the way around at the end so that it goes right straight down flush to that subfloor so that everything is easy and simple to put down. In terms of recommendation, I know a lot of folks ask this. We supply Tapcon screws for the wireways, and so that it can be drilled right into that deck, and it's no more than, I believe, 1.25 inches for the screws themselves. And then at the same time, what we recommend, especially with the medium density fiberboard for undercarpet, we just simply recommend a construction adhesive like a Gorilla Glue or something along those lines. With the on floor, when you put the wireway down, it actually has a reverse U channel that also allows for the rails themselves or the side ramps to actually be secured down to the floor or down to the subfloor, depending on how you want to do that. Some folks have put this on top of carpet, and they have actually used a Velcro, heavy-duty Velcro. Others have screwed it through the carpet. If it's going on a hard surface, again, it comes with a Tapcon screw. So there are a variety of ways to do that depending upon the floor surface it resides on. Also, as a part of the Express Kit offering, there are some additional accessories. So you can actually take the product, even though we show it only in straight runs. The ability, since the power unit actually has flex metal conduit, I can take and cut the pieces to whatever that distance may need to be to get to the furniture. But I can also turn it 90 degrees with a corner kit, which, by the way, also comes with the corners for the ramping as well. And then you have a vertical wire manager. And as well, if you're doing this ahead of or at the same time when studs would be, or the studding phase, you can actually have a rough-in frame that can be placed right up against wherever the studs will reside. The other piece that I think is important as an accessory is there are conditions when we cannot necessarily go into that wall. So it could be, as an example, the electrical may be on a wall, but it may be residing on a brick surface, vertical surface. So we do have an exterior kit, wall channel kit. We have two links, one 2-foot high so that you can install it and usually commandeer a standard single gang for the power to create your own J-box there. And then the 18 above floor finish on the standard height for the 2-foot. But you can also do this where, if necessary, it can go all the way up 12 feet and or cut to length, whatever that needs to be for the wall kit on the exterior wall channel. Where this has come to play in some instances is when we get into buildings that are on historical register, and there is a limitation in terms of what can be done and what can be drilled into and not. So just wanted you to be aware of that. Then we're going to switch gears a bit here and talk a little bit about this other system called Flex. And Flex is a modular above floor power and distribution system that, unlike Express kits that have a single circuit, Flex actually has 4 circuits of power and can run multiple devices in a single run, as opposed to the Express kit that can only run a single power and a single data device in a single run. So this is intended for more of the complex type of solutions and projects that might be out there and aware. And to give you a sense of this, I thought I would share this 1-minute video with you, and to kind of set it up to give you a sense of what we're showing here is we're showing 3 separate runs of ConnectTrack Flex. These 3 runs take an extremes example and actually change it to 3 different settings within an office with the same 3 runs. So let's cue this up. So there's your mouse holes. There's the 3 runs of the wireway. There, because it's going under carpet here, there's your ramps. there's the top caps, and then there's some of the devices. So the devices, because they're interchangeable with Flex, I can put the device where I need it. So in this case, I can power up workstation clusters, but those black pieces there are simply flat metal plates that people can easily walk over and not a trip hazard. However, I can switch those plates out with, in this case, a quad receptacle in each one of those 3-run locations. And I can take that workstation space and convert it to a training space with the same 3 runs. I can also take and put power in each one of the corners of the 3 runs and create collaborative spaces with the flat plates where people would normally walk. Or I can convert to all flat plates and have it be a social space. Now, again, this is an extreme example of what can be done with Flex, but the intention is that it can be changed out very easily and usually very quickly, dependent upon the client request. Sometimes, for training rooms, as an example, we do have some clients that are literally changing configurations on a daily basis. There are some instances where they may change it only once a quarter or once a year, but they still have that capability with this product. Now, again, taking an extreme case, I'm not necessarily recommending this, but I'm certainly wanting to give you a sense of what can be done. So we took a floor plate of a building, and in this case, this floor plate will give you a sense of what can be done on an entire floor of a space. And this is using all Connectrac, which that necessarily isn't the case with a lot of situations, obviously with our boxes and poke throughs. But you can see here's an example of changing out a quad to a flat plate. Now it gives me the ability to reconfigure the space. So I can create a classroom style or a U configuration style, and I can place the product of the device and power and data wherever it requires. I can do the same thing in open plan. I can do it in this case, collaborative space. And finally, I can add to an existing run and take a collaborative space, and in this example, change it to an actual training area. So again, just trying to give you a vision of what can happen with the product, depending upon what that use may look like. And so there are just the same as express kits. And I will take a step back and let you folks know that we do actually have a number of applications where we have used express kits in certain situations, let's say for conference rooms or some private offices that only need a single circuit of power and some data. And we have used the Flex product in tandem with that express kit for the open office areas where it may be having to power up multiple workstation clusters and or data that would be more specific to the need of the Flex with multiple data versus that of the express kit. So in this case, both the products will look very similar, if not identical. Hidden under carpet system works best with carpet tile. We also have the visible on floor system that works great on top of any of the floor surfaces. And one thing also to note on the floor, on floor solution, you can get it and it comes standard in a silver finish. There is an optional dark gray graphite finish, but that is for an additional charge. The other piece of this with the Flex, because it allows for so much more capability, is a number of just generic questions that really need to eventually be answered. So if you are looking to explore the option of using Flex in a specific space or floor plate, the one thing that we recommend is first take a look at what is the current use of the space. Next, what else might be used for that same space in the future? So in other words, kind of taking a look at and looking in that crystal ball with that client of what they may need to do in terms of different room configuration, et cetera. And then the last piece is if they are looking to reconfigure, how might that furniture be rearranged? Because if we can answer, at least within reason, those 3 questions, then we can do a better job of layout of the product so that they have the capability down the road to rearrange as they see fit or need to. Case in point, we have one client that we worked with, a very large production and channel folks that I cannot disclose, but I can share with you that they ordered this for all of their conference rooms, but they also ordered it, and they did with the Flex because they needed for multiple devices versus single devices. But they also wanted and knew that a lot of the conference rooms would almost immediately be converted to private offices. So it was wanting to make sure that they were accommodating both of those conditions at the point of order entry. The other piece that drives the bus on this is that of how many cables are required for the low voltage and data. So to give you a little bit more specifics, this is a single flex run. So in this case, and we show it as the A, B, and C. So the A is that entrance fitting, so entrance wall fitting. So this piece here is actually the same as the express kit in that it's flex metal conduit, but it is tied in via coupling to the beginning of the layout of the power track or raceway, which is what you see here, or the B. So this would go in that same mouse hole, 4 inches wide, 2 inches high, and go up the wall and typically tie into a J box above ceiling grid. But then once that's done, this can be, it's connected. And for those who may be familiar with it, when you're dealing with like systems furniture, especially panel systems, a lot of the manufacturers there, they are putting the power in the bases of those panels, and or sometimes running the power just below or above the work surface, but they're running it inside the panel on the horizontal. So it has a bus bar, and then it has whips, or I should say extensions that go around and bend 90 degrees, etc., to continue that electrical where it's needed. The reason I bring that up is it's taking that same concept that's used inside a panel on the vertical, and we're literally taking it and putting it flat on the floor. That's the only thing that we're doing that's different. So it's the same concept. So in this case, when we call it a raceway, it's a bus bar, if you will. And then as the raceways come in 2 feet up to 6 feet, and you can get them in 6-inch increments. So I can run it to as much as 75 feet with the consideration of taking up the 20 amp circuits according to code. So I can run 75 feet using all the 4 circuits available. Then when I run the power track, I would then put in a power hub. So that's the gray pieces that are showing here and here. Those power hubs then give you the capability of interchanging the devices. In this case, I have what's called a hub cap, which is that metal plate that can go on and off. And by the way, it can be screwed down. So if you're in a space where it's going to need to be permanently done, you can do that. Same with the data device and or the quad device, as well as a furniture hardwired device. So below, though, you'll see this kind of upside down U configuration, which houses that 4 circuits of power. There are still 2 actual U channels on either side that allow for up to, excuse me, 4 data cables. Those data cables we typically use as a baseline the Cat 6 because they're 0.025 diameter. It's pretty standard. There's some that are slightly thicker, some that are slightly less, but it gives you an idea. However, let's take that example a bit further. Let's say we have more than 4 data cables that we're going to need in that single run. Then I can actually take and place a empty, or what we call a data track, which is the exact same width and height as that of the power track, and I can run that right next to it and add another 10 Cat 6 cables inside of that, along with the top cap and then the necessary ramps on either side. If the 14 doesn't accommodate it correctly, then I can actually go to a third data track. And in this case, I can add another 10. So I can go all the way up to 24 data cables. When we're getting into workstation clusters, there are sometimes the need to have, I've more recently seen an average of 2 data cables per seat. And if there's a, if there's a 12 station run, this would be able to accommodate those 2 data cables and also accommodate the electrical to tie into the manufacturer's whip, because it has a knockout in each of our hardwire device boxes, so that Steelcase, Hayworth, Herman Miller whip would go right into that box. And it's really our own form of JBox that we can run from that column or wall out to where that workstation cluster resides and power it up there. And then finally, just trying to give you some resources and tips that are available out there. So as an example, what we're seeing in the new commercial office space, hospitality areas, classrooms, and even retail spaces, we continue to return, as we continue that return to the office and school, whether full-time or on a hybrid schedule, we're going to need to adopt our spaces to accommodate those new trends. And these changes require that flexible solution to provide the power, charging, data, communication, and even AV where needed. So in today's world, in that morphing, as we talked about with the initial trends in the presentation, moves, adds, and changes are the new norm. So it's just being able to accommodate those as best as possible. The other piece of this is, why use Connectrac? Why are some of the reasons that might be available to use or consider Connectrac as a viable option? One is that a lot of the end users, because we've been doing this for over 16 years, there's a fair amount of brand recognition within Connectrac. And the other part of this is there has been a lot of homework done on the front end so that it is all UL approved. It is also part of the new newer, I should say, NEC code for compliance within conference or conference spaces, and then as well ADA compliant. It works with existing situations. We recommend the use of the undercarpet solution for carpet tiles. If you have a broadloom or rolled good type of carpeting, the recommendation there, even though I have seen them use from time to time the undercarpet, but the recommendation there is to use it on floor versus under carpet. But also, it doesn't have the amount of disruption or the amount of time and effort that has to be done in a lot of cases with doing the coring and trenching in the specific space. And maybe it's a design build that has a real quick turn for some reason, or there may be a hard lid below that doesn't allow for drilling. And so one of the viable solutions would be the use of Connectrac. The next question becomes, so when do I use Express kits and when do I use Flex? So what we're wanting to do is, first of all, the Express kits are a part of the stocking program. So that allows a contractor to grab a box and install that pre-wired single circuit system. But when we talk about Express kits, these are really the conditions that make the most sense. So first of all, the power and data should be only needed in a single location with one circuit. So that's pretty much a given that the Express kit would be the easiest and simplest solution for that end user. That there would be no more than 8 telephone or data jacks available. We do, by the way, have a grommet that snaps into place instead of the data device that would allow for a pass-through versus termination points for the data on both Express kits and Flex. But another reason to go with Flex is that there is no more than a 15-foot length that is needed in order to accommodate that electrical and data in that space, which is usually a conference room, just trying to get technology from the wall to the tabletop, or in some cases it could be just an executive or private office where the actual desk and so forth is in the middle of the room as opposed to in one of the sides or corners of the room. And then obviously a grab and go raceway solution that would be all in one box. So just a simple, quick one circuit, one device type of solution. Then if we look at it, so what would happen in terms of when we would use or recommend the Flex system, it has a number of similar kind of parameters. So one would be the power and data would need to be in multiple locations with multiple circuits. That we would need more than just the standard 8 data or low voltage cable solutions. That we would need more than 15 feet of raceway. That would be required. And by the way, that Flex can go up to this full 75-foot run. And then furniture hardware connection is required. So if there's any cluster of workstations that need to be powered up, it would require a multiple circuit solution, which would require the Flex and our hardwire device. Then if there's a need, and it would be in your world, in California, for controlled circuit markers required, so Title 24. And yes, we do have solution for Title 24 product, and we have used that in multiple client requests. So it is as part of our standard product offering. And then if for some reason the job requires that you cannot core or trench, could be that hard lid. It could be that there's a federal government entity above or below, and they will not allow you to drill into that lid. So there's a variety of different reasons, but if you run into that, this is certainly an option. And then finally, quickly add connectivity and change power locations so that we can do that within a specific run of the Flex product. And lastly, I'd like to make sure that you're aware that there are resources available to you for both Express kits and as well Flex product. And I did try this prior to us getting on the call. And if I click on these, then it takes me out of the space and out of the website. So I won't do that, but suffice it to say that, and I'm sure, Mark, we can share this deck with the folks if they'd like, but you would still be able to click on this and get things like, in this case, an actual specification guide for installation under carpet or on floor, an actual cut sheet for when and what the Express kit conditions may be. And then we do have our Connectrac website that has a lot of this information specific to Express kits, as well as that of Flex. So we have Flex brochure, specification guide for installation under carpet or on top. We actually have a technical guide that has pretty much every specific piece available under the Flex and a lot of times under the Express kit that gives you the detail, the line or the actual three-dimensional drawing, the actual information that would be needed, as well as the product number and so forth. So that would as well be available depending upon what you would need. And these are things that are also easily forwarded on to end users that may be interested in more information. So that concludes at least the overview, but I would welcome questions if there are any. And I'll go back to, let's see here.
Hey, Brent, really quick, a couple of people texted me a couple of questions here. One of them was, can I cut the Express kits to size? So let's say I got a 9-foot system and I only need 8 feet. Can we cut it?
Right. So great question. And the answer is yes. With Express kits, you can. And it's typically recommended to use a chop saw to cut it to, let's say, that 8-foot dimension from what you've ordered as a 9-foot. You would still, and then you would still have the 25-foot lead of power, but you could also, as you tie that into the J box, you could cut it as needed in terms of the length. But yes, it is one of the, I think, benefits of using the Express kit over the Flex, because you can cut it in the field. And you
Okay.
could do that with the ramps too, by the way.
All right. And then the other one was you mentioned data.
Yes.
Does it support HDMI or AV connections?
It does. And we do get this question quite a bit. So there is actually a tombstone, or I'm sorry, a keystone, a
Keystone.
single keystone that you can use with an HDMI connection via Legrand. But the answer is that yes, you can terminate it. And we actually, I would say, probably 9 out of 10 times when we're working with Express kits specifically, an HDMI is involved. So yes, you can do that. You can also run it, instead of doing it to the floor and then running a patch cord to the tabletop, you can run a home run all the way to the tabletop and just do a pass through.
Okay, good. And that is with the Express kits as well as Flex.
That is true. Yes. On the
Okay,
data side, yes, that is true. Good
good.
point.
All right, that's all I had for you. Thank you.
Please reach out to us if you do have any questions on an individual basis, or if there's a question as far as exploring it as an option for any of your projects. Happy to help, and we're even happy to come up with plan and price so that you can compare that to other options.
Sure. And ESU is our rep agent, so please reach out to your local ESU if you have any questions as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you for attending this training. For this and many more, please visit iesupply.com or our YouTube channel, bit.ly/independent electric supply.